Hey, what's the deal, YouTube? It's your girl, Miss Honey. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. It is your girl, Miss Honey, here for a Amazon Prime series review. We are going to be talking about Them. I've seen a ton of thumbnails. Beautiful Soul Speaks, who is now It's Tabitha on YouTube, is doing episode by episode reviews. So if that's something that you would like, please head over to It's Tabitha. She, from what I understand, does an excellent job. I will not be able to catch up on her reviews until after I have done my review for the entire season, right? I'm just doing one. She's doing all 10. So check her out when you get a chance. I've not seen it yet, but I've not seen anything that she's done that just is not great. So I think this is horror is her genre for sure. Y'all know we have margaritas every now and then together. You know, say we like these. Horror is her genre. She's like, I think she's subscribed to like the Shudder channel and stuff. Like, she loves horror. And we all know that she has a political side where she does follows a lot of racial injustice and things like that. So this series combines two of her I think loves, I would say, so I'm sure she does an excellent job, but I will only be doing one video for the entire season, just because you guys know I am a major water baby. Those videos will be 3 hours long. Y'all already know that. Y'all already know it'll be 3 hours long, and I might have to edit it down to 2.5 hours. Okay, because I went in. Okay. Now, let me just say this full disclaimer. I am not a fan of horror. I will watch horror, but I'm not easily frightened. So, most people don't watch horror with me because I pick the movies apart. Like, I'm not able to turn my brain off and just go quietly into the sweet night. Like, I'm gonna say out loud, why would you go down that alley? Why would you go down the alley, boo? Why would you do that? Somebody chasing you on a main street. Why would you turn down an alley? Huh? You blocked in. You're trapped. You see that? You deserve to get mutilated. You do. Beat her. Kill her. She's too stupid to live. Anyway, I'm a joy. Aren't I? Aren't I a peach? Anyway, so I wasn't sure. How I was gonna feel about it. But when I saw the videos for it, the previews for it, I thought, hey, these are black people. I love black people, right? I love Lena Waithe. Lena Waithe is one of the writers, producers, and or both, right? And it was giving me like a Get Out type of feel, and I enjoyed that movie. So I was like, hey, my people's over here on Amazon Prime. Let me tra-la-la on over there. Well, let me say this. I was expecting horror. I wasn't expecting the racial piece of it. I don't know why it wasn't expecting that. Like, I saw little hints of it, but I wasn't expecting it to be so much. It's a lot. Okay, I'm gonna just go ahead and tell you that straight up and down. It's a lot. I will also tell you that there are spoilers in this video. If you have not seen the series and you intend on watching the series, just know there are spoilers here today. Okay, because I'm gonna give you a full review of this series. I've seen quite a few thumbnails out there, and some of the descriptions or the captions have said, something about black trauma, which I totally get, and something about the fact that we keep seeing this over and over again. Why are we continually traumatized and that type of thing? So there's all these mixed reviews. If you've seen them on Amazon Prime, I'd love to hear what you thought about the whole series. Were you able to watch it in one fell swoop, or I mean, did you have to walk away from that thing? I have to say honestly, I had to kind of walk away from it. Episode 4, 5, episode 5, I paused it and I had to just get my mind right. Episode 4, I wasn't sure if I was going to go back, honestly. Then I saw episode 5. I was like, oh, hell no. Hell no. Hell no. Y'all know what I'm saying? But hell no. Okay? I had to walk away for a day. And then after 5, I had to have a talk with myself. And I said, sometimes you got to look in the eye of the beast. Sometimes you got to look that beast in the eye, okay? And let him know. All right? No, not today, Satan. Not today. I'm going to get a hold of that. I'm going to get a hold of those emotions. I'm not going to let those emotions get a hold of me. You know what I'm saying? It ain't easy. It ain't easy. And I falter because I still wish I had laser beams that I could shoot out of my eye and set folks on fire. This is why I wasn't given superpowers. This is why I wasn't this type of vengeful spirit. This is why I wasn't given superpowers. I'm just going to be honest about that, okay? Because I was you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I just would be incinerating people. Just, it's why I can't stand no baby fine hair. You know what I'm saying? It be tickling your ears. It be everywhere. But yeah, I will be zapping people left and right, incinerating. You get incinerated. Dracarys. You know what I mean? Vengeful spirit. Okay, so like I said, not huge on horror, and it's been a while since, you know, I've been truly like terrified type situation in a horror story. And I don't think that I was terrified from the horror aspect here. Okay. So basically, let's just talk about what the show is about. The show really follows over 10 days a black family, the Henrys, and the mom's name is Lucky. And I used to work for a lady named Luck Gambrell. Her husband was a state senator. Look it up, okay? And I always said if I had a child, I would name my child Luck, male or female, right? You're welcome to it because your girl's not having any children. But I'm just saying. Anyway, so Luck, Henry, Emery, and Henry Emery. The husband's name is Henry. The wife's name is Lucky. They got 2 daughters, right? They had 3 children, but they got 2 daughters with them when the scene opens up, right? They got an older daughter. Her name is Ruby. Okay, and Ruby is played by, oh yeah, she's got notes, is played by Shahadi Wright Joseph. She plays Ruby, and she also played in Us. Okay, and they got a baby girl, Gracie. Okay, Gracie just as cute as a button, but when I tell you I want to get the back of her legs, I wanted to get the back of her legs a couple of times, just the back, just like the meaty part, you know, the fatty part of the leg. Just give them a little whip. That's all. It's against the law now, but you know what I mean. Just get. Zip it, right? Okay. Deborah Irende plays Lucky, and Ashley Thomas plays Henry, the daddy, right? And they are moving from North Carolina to California, Los Angeles, more specifically than that, they move into Compton. Now, this is set in early 1950s, start of Jim Crow type situation, and things are really bad in the South. That's something that my mom's godparents did. They left the Mississippi and they moved to New York because things was better for black people up north, and in this case they thought it would be better out, I guess that's the West Coast, right? Anyway, people fleeing the South left and right. Fleeing the South left and right because there's all types of debauchery going on down here in the South. Now, your girl is a peach and a grit, girl raised in the South. Okay, I ain't gonna dog Georgia too much. You just got to know how to handle yourself down here. You know, you got to know how to maneuver down here. You know what I'm saying? And if you got an auntie that's in management, I suggest you let her know you apply for that job, boo. That's all I got to say about that. Okay, so anywho, beautiful family. When the show opens, it opens actually with the mom in North Carolina. And it was so familiar to me because I grew up, like I said, in the South like that. And you know, just to have one big house and it's on a huge amount of property. You know, the kind of thing where you can kind of hear on the road when somebody pull up in the yard. Plus, we used to have a bunch of dogs, you know what I'm saying? And you did not pull up in that yard, baby, without them barking alarms going OFF, okay? We see the mom and she's got a little baby there. And beautiful. See, it's shot very retro. Shot very, very retro, right? You know, it's kind of orangey, brown, kind of dated, you know, type. But also, it's kind of creepy. It's kind of creepy in a way. Let me tell you something. I know a lot of y'all know about Tales from the Crypt, right? But there used to be a TV show called Tales from the Dark Side that would come on like later at night, like at 11 or 10 o'clock or something like that at night. And baby, the stories was horror stories, but they always had this. Back when I still got scared about stuff, right? Had like a moral ending to it, but it would be like a short little 30-minute show where there was this, you know, tell me if you know what I'm talking about. Tales from the Dark Side. You can still get it out there. You can get I think everything but season 1 of Tales from the Dark Side out there. I don't think it's Netflix, but I think you might be able to get it from Prime or Hulu. But check them out. Everything might not be as scary as it was back then, but that's what it kind of reminded me of, the, you know, that sort of dated look, right? And so she's humming around the kitchen and feeding the baby, and you know, it's 1940s, so she's got on her apron and her house coat dress and all of that, and she's got a little dog and she lets the little dog out, and then we see she go outside to, you know, and she sees a white woman walking up, and she is a little off. She's a little Looney Tune. Now, she down all the way in the yard, and Lucky is on the porch, and she is like, hey, how y'all doing? And she's like, yeah, it's a beautiful dog. He's a lovely dog. And then she starts singing this song about old Black Joe. And when she said old Black Joe, look, face fall a little bit. And she was like, okay, I'm going on inside now. And then the baby started crying. And she said, oh, is that your little baby? You have a little baby there. Can I have him? Can I have him? That's when Lucky said, I ain't playing. Ain't nobody playing with you. I think you best be on down that road. My husband will be back in a moment. And the white lady say, do you mean you're that handsome black gentleman I saw leaving there an hour or so ago with 2 little old black girls in the back? And she said, you get off of this property. You get off of this property and get away from here. Okay. And she calling for the dog. Come here, little dog. I can't think of the name of the dog. Come here, doggy. Come here, doggy. Oh, he's fine. He's fine. And then in the very, very distance behind the white woman, we see about 2 or 3 white men, dirty white men in overalls and coveralls. They was all dirty and white, walking up the road. And then scene cuts, and we see the Emerys on their way traveling to California driving, and they got a hitch in the back, right? Little dog and two little girls in the back. And so, you know, Mr. Henry is very excited. Mrs. Henry, from episode 1, has trepidation. She is feeling a type of way, a type of nervousness. I wasn't sure what was going on, but it's a new environment. You're moving lock, stock, and barrel. But they look like a respectable, put together, well-educated, well-rounded couple. Beautiful daughters. Now the colors are a lot more vibrant. But from the moment they pull into Compton, when they in the townish part, the cityfied part, you see as they go by, people are like, I was like, oh, alarm bells, alarm bells. Oh no, people staring at you like you got 8 heads, like you got, you know what I'm saying? A face full of eyeballs. Like, what are we looking at? What are we staring at? What, can I help you? Is there something? I mean, this is why I was not given superpowers. This is why I wasn't given laser beam for eyes, because I would be Dracarys. Okay, Dracarys. Yeah. She's got a vengeful spirit. Okay. Anyway, so, from the rip, it's suspicious. Even when they pull into the neighborhood, it's a very beautiful neighborhood, very different from the Compton that you see now. You see, you know, like a pink house and a purple house and a rusty colored house, and they're all like kind of the same house. There's no garages. There's just driveways where you just drive your car up. It's the 1950s, and all the women have these beautiful dresses on that's just got a little swing to them, just a little bit of swing to them. And I guess when they want to be a little bit more conservative, a little bit more fancy, a little less whimsical, it would be sort of A-line in some scenes. But for the most part, everybody had, like, you know, one of those whimsical, bellish type skirts, you know, on. And the and the ladies still, when they ran into town, they put a little you know, on the head and lip, you know what I'm saying? And that hair was flippity flip. Okay. And so they pull into town. You know, that was when the Believe It the Beaver child, and the boys used to wear their shirts tucked in their pants, and their pants was pulled all the way up, and then they cuffed the bottom. So they pulling in town. They seeing little boys playing on the sidewalk, and their moms are standing there with cigarettes. This is before smoking was taboo, and they looking at them as they go past. They pull up and the realtor there, child. And she take them inside to sign the paperwork. This day closing. Supposed to be their closing, right? And right away, Lucky notices that it says something about the neighborhood cannot be sold. Houses in this neighborhood cannot be sold to Negroes. And she want to know, why would you bring me up here and this was on the paperwork? What is you talking about? Why is this on the paperwork? And he's like, oh, no, is this a preliminary? And then the realtor's like, oh, no, it's against the law now. They can't do that now. No, that's Don't even worry about it. Why is it on the contract? Why is it here? Why hasn't it been taken off? Okay, it ain't even marked out. Come on now. And initial. You know, you mark something out, you got to initial it. Everybody know that. Okay. So from the rip, she feeling a type of way. All right. And it just goes from there. Okay. We still on day one. Day one, they get their things moved in. The moving truck comes, unloads all the things, and Henry has already been out in the yard and gave a wave. He got nothing back. He sent that wave over there and it hit the wall and slid down it slowly. He wasn't getting no wave. He wasn't getting no wink. He wasn't getting no nod. He wasn't getting none of that. Okay, all white neighborhood. Anyway, the realtor seemed like she very happy to see them, and she don't seem like it's a problem, and she done told the neighbors in front of the Henrys, that they need to mind their business and go on about their business, yada yada yada. They get all their stuff unloaded and everything done. Immediately things start to happen, right? The little girl go and look at their rooms. When the smallest little girl goes to the basement, first of all, the dog, she goes to the basement because the dog is barking at the basement door. Y'all know anytime the dogs bark at the door, there's something on the other side of that door. It might be big or it might be small, but it's something on the side of that door, on the other side of the door. It might be friend or it might be foe, but it's something on the other side of that door. Promise you, trust you. Dogs are the best alarm systems you can ever have. I promise you. Promise you. From the time somebody pull up on the property line, when Sugar was young, boy, I tell you what. Now she sleep all day, but she is 16 years old. I digress. So little Gracie go to the door, and when she get to the door, her mama tell her, "Come on away from there." And then she pushed the door open and look down there, is dog. Okay. All right. So you ain't been down to see that? Y'all ain't gonna go down and see what's going on in the basement? The basement not a part of what y'all need to be looking at. It's a weird way to buy a house, but okay, it's fine. All right. And it seemed like it's gonna be fine. I'm like, okay, well, there is some trepidations from the neighborhood, but if this is a scary movie, it's probably gonna be a reason for everybody to be afraid. No. Just the Emrys. That's it. The husband is gonna have a job. He's gonna be at the first black person or the only black engineer at a local firm. He got the job before he left North Carolina. Okay, he had the credentials. He's also ex-military, right? So, episode 1, you get a sense for the neighbors. You get a sense for the fact that this series is definitely going to have some horror, some boo aspects to it. You just don't know the depth of it really until episode 2, just like that. But episode 1 shows us the next day where Mr. Emery and the oldest daughter, Ruby, head on out. He goes to work and drops her off at school, and little Gracie and her mom are there. And Gracie doesn't start school for the next couple of days. She doesn't start school until, a couple of days later. And so immediately we see that next morning they've got things put out. The girls have spent the night. First things we notice is that when Gracie gets up, she is singing that song. And she's been reading this little book, and this little book got a female character lead. And she calling her Miss So-and-so, and she said Miss So-and-so taught her this song. And her mama sitting there waiting for her to sing the song. When she go sing the song, it's the same song that the white woman was singing in the yard when they was back in Carolina. Old Black Joe. And her mama runs up and said, "Why would you sing that? Who told you that? Where did you get that song from?" That alone, like, how would your daughter know that song? And the character that she says that, the person that she says taught her that song is a character in a book. It's something like a Miss Marple or something like that that's in this book that little Gracie has been reading and carting around everywhere. That alone will bug me, baby. That thing will bug me and get stuck in my craw. When I tell you I wouldn't stop until I got to the bottom of where my baby got that song from. And it would be very little that would go on until I found out a little bit more about that song, right? Okay. Like I said, Mr. Emery and Ruby go on off to school, and Gracie and Mom is left there, and the white ladies have decided just that quick that they're gonna congregate right outside. They get folding chairs and sit right outside in the hot California sun. Right outside the Emery's door, and turn on the music box. And so the music box playing right outside their house all day long, like torture. Y'all remember this from Lovecraft Country, when our girl bought that house and they started blaring music and she went out there. That's what they was blaring horns, and she went out there with a bat and cracked that window and knocked that doggone brick off of that horn and cracked that window and knocked it off. But evidently, worse than what they were doing was going on in Carolina, because the Henrys was like, we just gonna act like we don't see them. We just gonna act like we don't notice. Until the second day when they hung, I guess jigaboo dolls. You know them little dolls with the plaits in their hair and the twists and the big lips and black dolls. They hung them all along the house like Christmas lights and laid them out in the yard, and then burned in the yard the N-word, G-A. Or it might have been E-R, I don't know. Either way, offensive, right? They done set that out there and burn that out. And for the next 7 to 8 episodes, that's what hung on their house. They never took them dolls down. I don't know why they didn't take them dolls down. Mr. Emery got up and fixed the cable TV. After he bought a TV, went up on the roof and fixed the antenna. But never took the dolls down. I didn't get it. I didn't understand that. I guess that was supposed to add to it. But by episode 2, we are now realizing that the Emrys are going through horror on 2 fronts. There's this racial terrorism that's going on, and that's a horror on one front. And then there's things that are going bump in the night in their house. There's strange things happening. There's strange things happening with each one of them. Little Miss Ruby, she goes to school, and she's smart and well-read and well-rounded. They ask her a question about a poet or poetry, and she raises her hand. She knows the answer. And as soon as she gives the answer, it's the correct answer, everybody around her starts and she's just like, what y'all stupid? Like, what is y'all doing? Teacher calls her up, gives her a note, sends her to the office. Sends her to the office for disturbing the class. That's why they sent her to the office, for disturbing the class. Your skin color is making the class uncomfortable. It's making the class act up. It's making the class act a fool, and that's your fault. That's your fault. Now, the teacher fat as hell and old, but that ain't her fault. No. And that's okay. That's all right. Just get it together. Let's bring it together. This is why we can't do per episode reviews, okay? Because your girl will be cussing and fussing, okay? And being vengeful. Dracarys, zap. This is why, once again, I was not given superpowers. I was not given laser beam for eyes. This why. Because I be done set them jokers on fire, every last one of them. Crisp. I'll show you black. I digress. Let's not. Anywho, it just escalates. Right? And it is difficult. I would say by episode 4, I still felt like there's nothing really tangibly supernatural going on in the home. I felt like a lot of what they were going through was the racial terrorism that they were under, the domestic terrorism they were under as black people. Okay? This is what I thought was happening. I thought that, this music outside is droning on, and eventually the dog is killed in the basement, neck snapped, head turned to the back. Like, it was pretty traumatic for me. You guys know I'm an animal lover. This thing with Gracie was just getting worse and worse, right? And uh Henry Emery has invested everything in this. He's applied for the job. He's sold his property down there, or moved out of his property down there, and moved his family lock, stock, and barrel. He's got to make this work. So we are constantly seeing like this. It'll be okay. It's fine. You're fine. We're doing good. It's all right. Your mama's not. Your mama's not cracking. No, you know, he's putting this pressure on Ruby to hold it together and lift her mom up and not, you know, call her mom crazy, because her mom lost it. Once they killed the dog, she went outside with a pistol and she was like, y'all kill my... I was like, Lucky, calm yourself, baby. Calm yourself. You can't be out here with no pistol. Sure enough, somebody called the police, and the police came out, and they had guns pointed at all of them, and it was just their visceral reaction to the fact that she went out there with that gun, the fact that they knew that they were going to call. Like, they gathered themselves in the living room. He went and took the gun and hid it and put it away. And when he opened the door for the police and put his hands up, like, it was that frightening moment. This is the 50s, but it's that moment that you still feel now, when blue lights are behind you, or when you see video camera footage when it starts. Like, it's this dry tongue, thick tongue, heart palpitation, heavy breathing, sweaty nose, hair on the back of your neck, goosebump feeling like if this is gonna go bad. Of course, they come in with the guns. There's some Peckerwoods, and then their chief comes in, and he seems like he's going to keep everything copacetic. He seems like he's sensible and he's rational. But we learned that the Emerys don't have any friends. They don't have any friends. They don't have anyone that has their back per se. Okay, now Henry has a sister, Hazel, that lives in the black part of town here in California. And there is an episode where Lucky goes to see them. His sister is a kitchen beautician. And Lucky just want to get away. She just want to get away and just be around black people for a minute, because she's had about all she can stand, you know, with everything that's going on. And they're doing everything you can imagine. Like threats, the whole nine. She had a little white boy in her backyard. She trying to hang her clothes on the line. And y'all can tell I'm country. She tried to hang her clothes on the line, child. And he's standing there peeing on her sheets. And she ran him off, and he stopped and got a stick. By the time he hit that corner, baby, Lucky had that stick, and she was chasing his behind up the street. And listen, back in my day, all things being equal, we all black. When she caught him, she would have whacked him a couple of times and then took him to the door and told his mama, right? But no, chase him down the street with that stick, and they looking at her like she is a wild beast. And he is just this, the wild beast is chasing a cherub, an innocent little cherub. She can't even say nothing about it. She don't even have a conversation. She don't say, your little boy peed on my sheets and I don't appreciate it. She can't say nothing because it don't matter. If she say, your little boy peed on my sheets, they would say, why were your sheets on top of a naked boy? Like, it's gonna be their fault. They are forced to endure some horrific traumatization, but because they black, because they know that they're gonna be wrong no matter what, they don't address it. It just is suppressed. And so that's why I was confused about, is this an actual horror movie, or is this about the horrors that goes on with post-traumatic stress? I can't even say post, because post is to say it's after something, right? It's continual, it's perpetual. Like, it is consistently happening. You can't even get over point A before point B. They don't get over the dog good before the dogs are hanging in the door, hanging all over the house. Okay, they can't process Jack. he can't miss no days from work to be there with Lucky to help her out, okay, and get her right, because he just started that job. Okay, it's just compiled on top of compiled on top of compiled. Okay, the villain, the Caucasian lady that lives across the street, the one that's orchestrating and instigating, she's white supremacist cheerleader. I think her name is Allison Peel, and she's got a weird look. You know what I'm saying? She's got those small beady eyes, and they're very close to her nose. And you know, if I was a Caucasian person, you know, I wouldn't play these roles. I just wouldn't. I wouldn't play these roles because, in my opinion, when you play them that well, that to the T, I feel like, oh, okay, you in your comfort zone. Okay, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. That's just me. I wouldn't want anybody to see me in that capacity, and playing it that well. No. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say about that. And she's a piece of work. We do get to see Lucky slap her across her face real good when she make a smart comment to her. Lucky walk up to her and slap her across her face. This is another character. It's supposed to be our villain, but really it's racism as a whole that's a villain. And while this movie is, this series is about racism, it's about, you know, being isolated. We see that with Ruby, this sense of isolation. It's about obsession, you know, obsessing over, being obsessed of. We see from Allison Peel's character, who is the white woman that lives across the street, that's orchestrating all of this torture that's being passed down to the Emerys. We see where she is so consumed with the fact that her neighborhood is going down, and it's because she doesn't have any children. You know, she can't have any children. We find out that her husband is on the DL. He's a gay man, and he's frequenting gay clubs, and she's so obsessed with getting the Emerys out that she goes back to a father. Her parents are rich and well-to-do, and she's married and escaped that situation. She's so desperate or so obsessed with getting the Henrys out and preserving the whiteness of her neighborhood that she's willing to go and beg for money, basically, from her parents. A father who is sick and perverted and had his way with her as a child, and a mom who lets it all happen because she's jealous of the fact that the father is obsessed with her daughter, sexually obsessed with her daughter. And he's going to write her a check, but before he writes her a check, he wants her to spend the night. She was like, oh no, I got to get back, right? Now, this after she done found out that her husband done spent all the money in the bank, and I think it's like $4 in the bank now. Joint account, right? Because he traipsing around and taking care of young boys down at the Woo Woo Club. And so her dad was like, well, I think you should spend the night. And she was like, oh no, I'm not going to spend the night. He was like, no, you need to clean up, so go run us a bath. And he runs the bath and goes in the bathroom, baby, and gets undressed. And she is sitting there on the side of the bed and contemplating, should I do this? You have already gone too far when you drove up on their grounds, boo. And the thing of it is, it isn't until episode 5 that we realize that actually you and Lucky could have had wonderful conversations during the day. I won't say wonderful, but you could have had in-depth conversations during the day about the trauma that you both had gone through. But you're so obsessed that you would rather go back and grovel at the feet of a man who brutalized you. Huh? Okay. Plus, she's also entertaining the milkman every day. Now, it's just innocent, sweet conversation, but still, she's got him wrapped around her little finger. Okay. Anyway, episode 5 happens. In episode 5, I think probably is the most traumatizing episode. It is full of not only murderous racial brutality, violence, racial violence, but it's sexual violence. And it's another reason why I didn't do episode by episode, because that would have been a very difficult episode to get through, because we did not spend a lot of time with the present day Emerys. We spent a lot more time with what went on in North Carolina that was the reason why they had to move. And basically, what happened was that this white woman was the head of a white clan of men, 3 men that cracked the window and broke into the home with Lucky and her then little boy. And he was the youngest of her 3 children, her last born. And she, even though she went and hid the baby, it was 3 of them. They scoured the house and found her, cornered her, immediately threw her to the ground and began raping her. And when they found the baby, they put the baby in a pillowcase and played cat in the bag. And that is when they tossed the baby back and forth in the pillowcase between her and another white devil, and then around and around and around and around, and smashed the baby and killed the baby. And so then we see this really, really poignant scene where when she throws the bag down on the ground and the baby lands, it's in the bag, and then the bag has blood all over it. And Lucky is being violated still by 2 wicked devils, and we see her hand reach out towards her baby as if she just wants to get to her baby. And then we see scenes where they're at the funeral. We see scenes where Lucky kind of snaps a little bit at the repast, at someone who told her that it's gonna be a better day, and you early bird, just positive, trying to lift her up. And she was gonna claw that lady eyes out. I was like, don't nobody say nothing to Lucky, please. Okay. And then we saw where she had this season of mental breakdown. And Lucky was the rock. See, because her husband, when he came back, Henry, when he came back from the war, he too had some issues, because he had been a victim of that chemical warfare, and they tried it out on the black men first. And the chemicals had a sickly sweet smell, and so consequently he doesn't eat anything sweet. He doesn't like the taste of sweetness, right? He doesn't like sweets. And he's also at this breaking point. At this time, she's pregnant with Chester, their male child, their last born. And she rallies him. This is in a separate scene. This is like episode 2 or 3. And she rallies him. And now that this thing has happened to her, he's not able to rally her as well. His solution for this situation was to pack them up and get them moved out of the South. One, she can't stay in that house. Okay, the baby just buried across the way. She was out there wandering around, trying to round the gravesite, and Ruby and Gracie, very young girls. You know what I'm saying? This had to be like 2 or 3 years earlier, maybe. Or 2 years earlier, maybe, right? Because Ruby's like 14, and I would say she was maybe 10 or something. I don't know. It's hard for me to tell with kids' ages, but it had been a few years earlier. She had a breakdown. Okay, and so his solution was to load them up, pack them up, and get them moved out. All right, and so here they are, present day in Compton, and it is just as horrific. They left nothing. Okay, they are still in a situation where one of them could be assassinated, executed. And nothing would be done about it. They're still in the situation where one of their children could be could be harmed. They're still in a situation where he's leaving Lucky all day at home, and she could easily be harmed. And so, it is this pressurized situation where they begin to explode little by little. Each one of them, the horror that they've gone through, the trauma that they've gone through from North Carolina to here, and things that have happened here, it's starting to manifest itself in little ways with each one of them. For Henry Emery, it manifests itself through a character called Tap Dance Man. And that's like a black face with the, white lips and the huge teeth and the red gums. It's quite terrifying, actually. And, it's with, yes, sir. Oh, yes, master. Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, I sure is. It's one of those characters. And so he's starting to see this individual, and this individual is starting to talk to him. And at first it's all like, oh, you sure is a go along to get along in word, aren't you? You know what I'm saying? And then it starts to make these suggestions about what he should do. Because, see, he's being terrorized and marginalized, not just at home, but also at work. And vilified at work as well. And so he's starting to see spooks and specters at work. So I'm thinking, well, this is a scary character. This is a terrifying character, but it's coming out of his psyche. I'm not seeing how the horror aspects from this situation where it's supernatural. I'm just not. I feel like what they got going on with these white folks is way more terrifying than what could or could not be in the basement. In my opinion. I mean, when you got racism, do you really need a villain? Do you really need a monster with 8 heads? Do you? I don't think so. That sounds terrifying enough. With Lucky Emery, she is afraid. She's afraid because she heard a rumor about when she went to see Hazel, Henry's sister, about a black family that moved up there, and they drove her so mad that she killed her children. And she's afraid it's going to happen to her because it could easily happen to her. Like, she feels so tortured and she's so under so much pressure. And so she's investigating the situation, unbeknownst to Henry. She's investigating the situation. And she meets a couple of characters who she thinks are black people in the neighborhood. I'm still not sure. Were they spooks? Were they specters? Were they in her mind? Did she really go and have these conversations? We do see later on when she's at her breaking point, Hazel comes to visit her. And she seems kind of comforted by Hazel, but turns out Hazel was a specter in her mind in this moment. Hazel is a real person, Henry's sister. He acknowledged Hazel as his sister when she went over to visit. But in this moment, this visit from Hazel isn't real. It isn't. Because Hazel's trying to talk her into ending her children's lives so they don't have to suffer. The tap dancing man character for Henry is telling him he need to get rid of his boss because he don't respect him. And you'll show him that you a man. More man than he could ever be. Right? You got to prove yourself. You didn't prove yourself in Carolina. You got to prove yourself. With Ruby, Ruby's going to school and she's stealing away in broom closets and behind the bleachers and stuff with a white girl. Okay? And I thought the white girl was real. I did wonder why wasn't nobody talking to the girl. Nobody else was talking to the girl. Why she didn't have her own group and her own clique. but it seemed like she might have been a little fresh, a little hot in the pants. Well, evidently that was a ghost and a specter. It was a part of Ruby's psyche. Ruby was projecting this white imaginary character, a white girl, because she was wanting to shed her dark skin because of how they was treating her in school, because of the fact that her mama was going through, because of how they was treating them in the neighborhood. She didn't want to be crazy, and she felt like if she was white, she would be beautiful and therefore acceptable, and she wouldn't have to suffer like her mama, a dark-skinned woman, did. Okay? All right? So the anxiety and the terror and the trauma and the post-PTSD that they all went through was manifesting itself at times in a vision, but then there was also this very literal horror that was going on. The man in the black hat. The man in the black hat was a character. Y'all may remember him. Let me see, what was his name? If y'all ever watch Hell on Wheels, and if you haven't tried to catch Hell on Wheels, I think it's on Netflix. It's a cancel show now. And I think originally it was on TNT or AMC, but it is a really, really good show. You would love the Hell on Wheels. I'm in the Cowboys, though. So his name is Christopher Heyerdahl, and he played the Swede on Hell on Wheels, which was a villainous madman. In this series, he plays a Swede again, but it's back in the day, you know, in the Hell on Wheels days, like 1850, early 1800s, that type of thing, or late 1800s, and where this town full of Swedish people, he is the leader, the pastor, the elder in the town. Very small town, and they're completely incompetent. They don't know how to do anything or how to get anything done. And because he's out praying, I think he's lost his wife and his child. He sees someone approaching a wagon, and he stops them. At the time, he shows them hospitality. He shows them friendship. He's very welcoming. Their wheel is broken. He's going to have them bring their wagon into town and fix the wagon. He's got his son there with him. And, you know, we saw how he got his son. Like, he found his son in a bush, like a homeless boy or something like that. Turns out the little boy is not even real. That was in his mind, too. And, they eventually, him and the whole town eventually basically enslaved these two black people. Now the wife is pregnant, and it comes to him because he's mad. You know, he's a mad person, the man in the black hat. His mind is gone that he can't find his son. His son, it doesn't exist. He blames it on the black people. He blames his situation on the black people, even though it was apparent before they got there. I mean, it's crazy. To me, it would have been a better story, more interesting story, in my opinion, than what was going on in Compton, because it really was this sort of grassroots, It was like the start, you know what I mean? I know that wasn't the start of slavery and that type of thing, but it was just this different perspective that, though horrifying and brutally done, it just was a little bit more interesting. There's this scene where the 1850s black guy says, hey, you know, they're digging this well, and they're, like I said, they're incompetent and dumb and stupid. They can't even figure the most simplest things out. and they're trying to dig and dig, and they say, well, they're asking the Swede if they should keep digging, and he doesn't know. He was like, oh, here's my black friend, let me ask him. He coming to find out when his wagon gonna be ready. Like, I'll be on my way. I don't want to put y'all out no more. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be eating up y'all food and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? We ready to kill. Oh, see if you can help us out with the simple problem. Should we keep digging, or, should we stop? He was like, well, how much have you dug? And they said, well, he said, well, dig a little bit more. I bet you that water come up. You know what I'm saying? He knows about baseline, how far you need to dig, right? It's common knowledge to him because, you know what I'm saying, he got to be all things to for himself. Okay, and he probably worked somewhere on a farm, somewhere on a plantation somewhere, and he knew this stuff. Anyway, they think it's magic that he knows because they dig a little bit more and they hit the water. They think it's magic. Okay, and then he tells them how to well it up and make a well, how to brick it up and make a well. They say, well, can you help us get the brick? Now, they've got 15 men standing around the hole. Can you help us get the brick? Oh, yeah, I don't mind helping y'all, feeding me and fixing a wagon for me. And y'all giving us shelter until we can get back on the road. I don't mind helping and participating. I don't mind. My wife can help sew. She knows how to sew a little bit. She can join the sewing circle. She in the sewing circle, and they around there dropping little microaggressions and racial innuendos about the fact that she sews so fast. He come up with a load of bricks, and he dumped the bricks, and they say, don't be so lazy. Bring the bricks over here closer. Now, he the only one lifting the bricks. And so it was kind of like him being just kind and being trying to, reciprocate what he thought was kindness showed towards him, kind of paying their way, not freeloading off of them. His wife is pregnant, so he's trying to keep her protected. Him trying to be ingratiated. They took it as, oh, we can get this ninja to work. We can put these ninjas to work. We can have her sew all our blankets. We can have him dig all our wells and brick them up. Cook all our food. Now, meanwhile, the Swede is breaking. He's breaking. Okay. This is another episode like episode 5. We get a whole episode on how the black man, the ghost, the specter, the man in the black hat comes to be. This is the one that's actually physically haunting their actual home. Okay, so they being driven mad from the outside by the white folks, and they being driven mad inside by this actual physical horror character, specter, ghost type person, the man in the black hat. Go back to the 1850s. He's really snapped. He's lost it. Okay, and after kind of verbally attacking the black woman as she's pregnant, her water breaks, and they gather them in the barn and immediately go to torture. I fast forwarded through that. I didn't need to see that. I didn't need to see what they did to them. I don't think that we need to see constantly exactly how it is being done. I think this is where we can, insert black trauma. Okay. I think if they had of hung them and that was the end of this visual story that we saw, I think we would have gotten it all the same. But to blind them, I think they cut their hands off, blinded them, hung them, and set their bodies on fire. Like, Lena, why we need to see that? I don't get it. We do know that this brutality happens, right? We knew back in the 80s, early 90s, when they drugged this man in Texas behind the truck and tore the meat from his bones. We knew back in the day when they would set the house on fire with the children and everything inside and listen to them burn. We knew when they gather like it's a festival, like, you know what I'm saying, Coney Island's at a hanging. Like, it's not lost on us, no matter how much we TikTok and dance and, and it's we know, we are acutely aware. We are acutely a freaking aware at how brutal and how wicked the soul of a white man can be. And by white man, I mean women too. We didn't have to see that. It's not necessary. I think it was overkill. And to me, why do you need a specter? Why do you need a ghost? Why do you need these things? You don't need them. You don't need them. Why? You don't need them because the horror of the racial brutality, the racism, the horror of the racism itself is a horror show within itself. I mean, you could have just shown the video clippings from the last 100. Okay, let's not say 100. That seems like a high number, don't it? Don't it seem like a high number? Yeah, and it's just April, but you could have showed just the police cam videos from the top of 2019 to this moment, the number of people that have been killed, just the body cam. You could have showed that like a Blair Witch Project type situation, and that would have been horrifying enough. That would have been horror movie enough. We did not need the man in the black hat. We didn't need him to be the specter. We didn't need that. But for a moment, I thought he was the manifestation of the fear that was inside of Lucky Emery. Okay? Because she's the one that ends up killing him and getting rid of him at the end. You know. Now, she's got to get rid of him in spite of the fact that she's already had to get rid of white folks. They broke in her house. They were going to kill them all. They tied the husband up and tied her daughters up. I mean, it's just 10 episodes. It is just 10 episodes. It is a traumatizing 10 episodes. But again, I don't see why we needed a specter. I don't see why we needed a ghost. I don't see why we needed, the supernatural involved. Who was that for? That's just my question. Got several. But number one, who was the movie for? Was it supposed to be a history lesson for us? Okay, because we can pull from any point in time in history and come up with this brutality, come up with this wickedness. We could reach back into last Wednesday. We could reach back into the last weekend. And listen, we are still in springtime. We're not even in summer yet. We can pull from any point between March and April and I'm sure in May. We didn't need the history lesson. I'm not sure if you're trying to teach Caucasians the history lesson. Did you throw the horror aspect in for white people? I'm just asking. Have you thrown the horror piece in? Did you throw that in for white people? So they'll come and tune in? That's one question I have. Are we going to see the resolve? Because so many things go on. Lucky Emery is put into a mental hospital. She breaks out of the mental hospital just in time to save her husband and her daughters from these two white men that are in their home and have them tied up and have beat Mr. Emery all to hell. And the last thing we see is after they've all individually gotten rid of their own specters, of their own PTSD visions of brutality. Ruby got rid of her white girl. Henry got rid of the tap dance man. poor Gracie, she's still so young, but she's at that cusp where she still feels there's some make believe, but at the same time she's coming into the reality of just what it means to be a black child, a black woman, a black girl, a black person. And we see where Lucky gets rid of the black hat guy. And then they come out of the house as a family and line up now because a fire has been set as a line of demarcation. The police in there, they got the guns drawn because Henry done beat the white guy that tied up his family all to hell and had him in the street. He also kills the police chief, Henry does. There's no talk about it. After he kills the guy, it's like he disappears. We don't hear anything else about it. So is season 2 going to be, are we going to see any vindication from the Emrys? Are we going to get something that says that the Emrys have exacted some revenge? We do get to see the Allison Peel character get killed in some off the wall, out of the way, nothing to do with the rest of the storyline bullcrap. That's why I was like, who is this movie for? Who is this movie for? We as black people don't need to continue going over this. Is it to entertain white people so they can see themselves brutalize us and the fact that we have to eat it and suck it up? Is that for them? Is for us? Is the horror for us? Is it for them so they'll come and see this show about a black family? Okay, it's on all points. We learned that the realtor is in with the banks. She's being treated with like she a part of the Handmaid's Tale. They tell her to shut her mouth and do, they put a woman up front to soften it, but basically what they're doing is selling these homes to these black people, and at a hiked up rate and a hiked up cost and hiked up interest. And then when they lose the home, they just take the home out from underneath them if they miss even one payment, and they resell the home to the next black family and just keep doubling and tripling their money that way. Keep a revolving door of black people. This is what's going on with the bank. Also, they was going to do a full lobotomy on Lucky Emery while she was in the mental institution and wouldn't let Henry Emery see her. Even though they verified why she did what she did. Why, that she had a small breakdown and is now consequently better. They verified that. But again, because they want to perform this on a black woman and see if they can reverse her blackness, see if they can take her down a peg or two so she won't be as fast and strong and witty and confident. Like, who is this movie for? Are we going to get a season 2? Are we going to see some vindication? And why don't we create movies that don't have black people in them? We've seen a ton of movies that don't have white people in them. We've seen a ton of movies with all white cast. All white cast. I think there's 2 black people in Handmaid's Tale. It's all white. All white. In order for there to be a movie that's believable about supreme power and oppression, you got to have white people. Got to have white people. We don't make movies with all black cast. If we do, it's a reality show, or even Tyler Perry movies got white people in them. It's like you don't think people going to watch the shows if white people not in them. I don't understand. Like, villains included. Why couldn't we have a well-written horror that included all black people? Why did it have to include this racism component? Because We didn't need one. We didn't need them both. We didn't need them both. You could have told the story of racial brutality, of racism, without the specters. You could have told the specters without the racial piece. You could have. Or you could have at least let it be more on the vengeful spectrum. Why couldn't we see what they had been going through in a snapshot, and then just see how they, I mean, it's a fantasy. Why couldn't they be superheroes in their own story? Why couldn't we see the Emerys in this powerful state? Why do we have to continue to see ourselves as victims, being victimized, when we are clearly, they know we're clearly smarter and brighter and stronger. They know. If we're not equal to, we're more than. Right? But we never see this sort of, even in the fantasy world, we never see it depicted in that way. And I think for me, these are the reasons why it's not necessary that you see it. I personally don't think this movie was necessary at all. I think you could have had all of these characters who give an amazing performance, each and every one of them. And you could have shot a different movie and it would have been just as wonderful and just as entertaining. I don't think there was anything interesting about the storyline, the plot. It was a horror story from the beginning, and it didn't need the added plus of the racist specter ghost. Like, your ghost and a specter and an evil villain who's also racist, who's also done some horrifically racist things in the background. Like, what is the point? What are you getting at? What, I mean, is it supposed to be open to all of us to say, well, for me, I can feel the pain of the younger girl because I remember growing up as a child. I mean, it's supposed to be like this, open to interpretation. What are you talking about? It's a whole race of people who absolutely can relate. And we don't find it entertaining. We don't find it amusing at all. Anyway, you guys tell me what you think. I went on way too long. I still got a couple of more reviews I got to do. If I have not said already, please make sure you hit the thumbs up button. Please make sure you hit the subscribe button. Yes, my reviews are a little bit long. Yes, they're more like discussions, but at least they're not these 15-minute snippets that you got to keep scrolling and looking for something else. You can sit with me for an hour and listen and be entertained all at the same time. I would love for you guys to hit the thumbs up button. I would love for you guys to hit the subscription button, as well as that notification bell, which is right next to it, and come back and see me. I'll be doing Handmaid's Tale, toying with the idea of doing Godfather of Harlem. I've had one request. I do love the show. I am fully caught up on it on Epics. Y'all tell me what you think. Tell me what y'all think of this show. Put it down below. And until next time, honeybees, I holla.